What's going on, guys? CJ Curry back at it. That's right. I survived Hurricane Milton that came to the Tampa Bay area. I just want to say a special thank you to everybody out there who sent well wishes and support. Reading those comments in the last video really helped me get through everything. I'm sorry I missed you guys for Sundays and Mondays NFL videos, but we're back at it. We're going to be shooting some more videos here, and we're starting with this one here. Thursday night football game between the Denver Broncos, who are visiting the New Orleans Saints. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't gotten subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button now. It's free for you to do. And while you're hitting the subscribe button, if you could smash that like button for me as well, let's run those likes up as high as we possibly can. And if you guys do that, I'll drop a video here real soon for some of the Sunday picks that I'm liking. So first and foremost, if you're not playing on PrizePicks yet, this is a sweet time for you to get signed up. There's a number of different reasons why, but the primary reason why right now is the fact that they are running an Anthony Edwards free square. That's right. I know this is an NFL video, but we've got NBA in just about a week starting, and you're going to see a lot of NBA content from yours truly here on the channel as well. But yes, free square right now, Anthony Edwards. He's at 0.5 points. So basically, if he scores 1 point against the Los Angeles Lakers on opening night, well, then you have won that pick. And then you can put that with one other pick for a 3x, or put it with 5 other picks and go for the 25x. It's entirely up to you. Now, on top of that, PrizePicks is also still running that other promotion where if you play $5, they're going to give you $50. So go down to the description of today's video, use that special link and promo code CJ Curry to take advantage of all of these promotions that PrizePicks is currently running. All right, so what are we doing today on this NFL video? Well, there's not a lot of options on the New Orleans Saints side of things because there's so many doggone injuries that they're dealing with. You got Chris Olave out, Rashid Shaheed possibly out. On top of that, Taysom Hill, he's on the injury report. We're not sure if he's going to play or not. So our options are somewhat limited on the Saints side. Got a couple picks on the Broncos side that we'll talk about as well. So let's go ahead and get into the first pick. Starting with the Denver Broncos, we're going to go look at a guy named Troy Franklin. And there's a couple different ways that you could play Mr. Franklin if you so choose. What you do is up to you. I'm just showing you what I found. If you agree with this research and information, take it. If you don't take it, reverse it. It's your money. Do what you want with it. But there's two different options here. I'm looking at Troy Franklin for more than 18.5 receiving yards or for more than 11.5 on his longest reception. Now, why am I looking at this guy? Why am I looking at this prop? Well, when we jet on over here to the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, which is going to go out and it's going to go scan all the different sports books. It's going to look at the way people are betting on those sports books. Are they betting the over? Are they betting the under? Which way's the money coming in on these different props? Then it's going to strip the juice, strip the vig out, and it's going to give you a true odds, true chance of this particular prop hitting. So if we look at Troy Franklin here, the top two ways to play Troy Franklin would be over 11.5 on his longest reception, meaning he needs a long reception of 12 or more yards in order for this to come true. Or you could take the over on 18.5 receiving yards. Now at 18.5 receiving yards, you're seeing him at some sites, some sports betting books at 20.5, 19.5 receiving yards. So we are getting a little bit of a discount here on PrizePicks. And I say a little bit. It's only a 1 to 2 yard difference. Same thing with the longest reception. You're seeing him at 12.5 for his longest reception prop. And you can find that on various sports books such as Pinnacle, FanDuel, DraftKings, etc. So value on both of these. Now, Troy Franklin's really kind of stepped up here over the last couple of games. When you take a look at where he's at on Outlier, taking a look first and foremost at the receiving yards, you can see what he's done over the last couple of games. He finished with 20 receiving yards against Vegas and then 31 receiving yards against the Los Angeles Chargers, clearing his receiving yards pretty easily in both of those games. So the over at 18.5 on PrizePicks does look like it's going to be a worthwhile option with a slate or a game with very limited options. Now, also looking at the longest reception here, he has cleared this number of 11.5 on the longest reception in his last 2 games as well. So if he only catches one ball, odds are, at least from the last 2 games, that ball is going to be a 12-yard reception or more here. Now you're going to have Cortland Sutton matched up with the toughest receiving toughest defender on the New Orleans Saints, which is Marshawn Lattimore. So if Sutton's kind of tangling with Lattimore all game, then maybe a guy like Troy Franklin kind of steps up here and gets a couple of extra targets in a much easier matchup here. But yeah, you could go longest reception over 11.5, or you could go over 18.5 total receiving yards. Now, I don't have a projection for the longest reception, but let's take a look at the reception or the receiving yards, rather, the projection for that. And we've got a couple of different projection models that I use. This one here is called Fantasy Labs. It's basically comprised of two of the sharpest NFL minds in the business. That's Sean Kerner and Chris Raybon. So this is a consensus of their two projections. And when you take a look at Troy Franklin over here on Fantasy Labs, they've got him projected for 25.6 receiving yards. Again, his line is just 18.5 over on PrizePicks. So there's some pretty good value here to be had on Mr. Troy Franklin. Now, checking a second projection for you guys, because you know every projection model is a little bit different from one model to the next. This projection model is called the Blitz. It's by my guy, Derek Carty. Again, one of the best projection models that are out there in terms of NFL. But just because it's one of the best projection models out there doesn't mean it's going to get all the picks 100% right. If that was the case, PrizePicks and some of these other apps would be put out of business and we would be filthy rich. So projections are just that, just a best outcome, best potential outcome. If everything goes perfectly, this is what should happen type of situation. But anyway, the projection here on the Blitz has Franklin at 28.8 receiving yards. So that puts him over his line of 18.5 by about 10 receiving yards, which is a pretty considerable difference when you compare the projection versus the PrizePicks number. So definitely looking at Troy Franklin here for one of these two options, either the receiving yards or the longest reception. Let's get into the other pick that I was really liking, which is going to be former New Orleans Saints kicker who is making his way back to New Orleans, now a member of the Broncos, and I'm talking about Will Lutz. Will Lutz at 1.5 field goal makes is probably the way that I want to play him. He's got a very good matchup here going up against his former team in the New Orleans Saints. And the reason I say that is because in terms of what the New Orleans Saints are allowing to opposing field goal kickers, well, they're giving up quite a bit in terms of field goal makes. In fact, there's only one team that is allowing more field goal makes to opposing kickers than the New Orleans Saints. So let's pull them up here. This is outlier.bet. If you guys are interested in any of the tools that I'm using and you want to save money when you subscribe to them, I got links down in the description of today's video for everything that you see on screen here. But using outlier.bet, we punch in Will Lutz's name and we go over to the over on 1.5 field goal makes. This will kind of give you an idea of what he's done this season. As you guys can see, he's cleared this in 4 out of 6. Usually when he comes off of a bad game or a game where he's only made one field goal, he bounces back and he clears in the next game. You kind of see a little bit of a pattern that's forming there. Now, the reason I like this matchup is, again, if you look at the field goal allowed by the New Orleans Saints, they rank 29th. So there's not too many teams that are allowing more field goals to opposing kickers than the Saints are. So they're kind of a bend, don't break defense. They'll let you get down there around the red zone. They'll let you get down there in field goal range, but they're usually doing a pretty good job of keeping you out of the end zone, usually. And so, you know, with the Denver Broncos team that have been moving the ball somewhat decently against a Saints defense that's given up a lot of yards, I could see a situation where Sean Payton, former Saints coach, and these young Denver Broncos are moving the ball down the field, but maybe not executing in the red zone, leading Will Lutz to trot out there and kick a couple of field goals for us. So things looking pretty good here for Will Lutz. If you're interested in taking it, I would take it for the over at 1.5. And if you go over here and take a look at how people are betting this particular prop out on your favorite sports books, you can see that this one has almost a 53% chance of clearing for the over. So you got, minus 130 out on DraftKings, minus 130 out on BetMGM, minus 131 on Bet Caesar. So you got different sports books where the money is definitely coming in on the over for Will Lutz to make at least 2 field goals. And I think he's only missed maybe like 1 field goal. I believe he's like 13 for 14 on the season. So historically speaking, this season, he's been a very accurate kicker. And he'll be kicking indoors, which helps even more. No wind, no rain, no scary weather issues for us to be concerned with. So there's another pick for you. Now, let's go over to the New Orleans Saints side of things. And the only prop that you're really going to find here outside of Spencer Rattler is going to be Alvin Kamara. They didn't really have any other players up on the board in terms of offense. You got a lot of Spencer Rattler props. You got the kicker, Blake Groupie. He could be an option maybe at 6.5 kicking points or the 1.5 field goal makes. But I think there's a little bit of value here on Alvin Kamara, and seeing some projections for Alvin Kamara that do not like him to go over either his rushing yards or his receiving yards. In this case, I'm looking at the combination of both the rushing and receiving yards, which is set at 108.5. Now, let me bust open the calculator for you. Because when we take a look at these lines individually, you got 70.5 is his individual rushing yard line, right, on PrizePicks. And then you've got 34.5, which is his individual receiving yard line. Now, when you add those two together, you're at 105 total yards of rushing and receiving yards. But for some reason, PrizePicks still has his combination of rushing plus receiving yards set at 108.5. So you are getting about 4 to 5 yards of value here based on what we're seeing on PrizePicks. So let's take advantage of this value. Taking a look here at Alvin Kamara and where he's kind of projecting on these various football projection models. Let's start over here. We're going to look at the receiving yards. We've got him pulled up. Again, this is Fantasy Labs. This is the Sean Kerner, Chris Raybon models. They've got him at 30.6 receiving yards. And then when we take a look at his rushing yards, 63 is the number for the rushing yards. So we add that to the 30.6 receiving yards, and you're left with a total of about 93.6 rushing plus receiving yards. Now, I know the Saints aren't very healthy. They're not going to have too many healthy bodies out there, playmakers out there, but the Denver Broncos know that too. And so they could really key in and zero in on a guy like Alvin Kamara and hopefully, mitigate him and slow him down. So there's your first projection, 93.6 combined rushing plus receiving yards for Kamara. Again, his line is 108.5 right now on PrizePicks. And so we are getting some value here on the under for Kamara. Now, let's also go check the Blitz, which is another one of my favorite projection models. When we look at the rushing plus receiving yard combination there, you got 27.95 for the projected receiving yards plus a 61.31 for the projected rushing yards, which brings us to a grand total of 89.26 rushing plus receiving, which is a far cry from where his line is set on PrizePicks at 108.5 combined rushing plus receiving yards. So that one just caught my eye again, just a little bit too high. It'll probably end up getting bumped down. I know they had just bumped down the rushing yards for Kamara by about 3. I believe he was at 73.5 earlier. Now he's down to 70.5. But these are just a few picks that kind of caught my eye. Hopefully they'll add more Saints props to the board between now and Thursday night once this game kicks off. But you guys let me know. Are you happy to see me back after a little bit of a hiatus due to the hurricane? Let me know down in the comments section below. Are you liking these picks, hating these picks? Why or why not? Are you taking them over, taking them under, fading them completely? I'd love to get your feedback and comments on all of these videos. Guys, I'll catch you in another video real soon covering some picks for Sunday Football Week 7. Good luck on all your picks, plays, and parlays. And if you're in Dub Club or Discord, we'll see you on the inside.